right, let's welcome in Jenny Horne, co-host of Next Gen and markets correspondent, to get a closer look at our winner so far this morning. Big winner, Celsius. It posted earnings. It's got some acquisitions, some deal news happening here. So let's start out with going through some of the numbers, Jenny.
Yeah, Dan, a lot to like from Celsius this morning. As we did see, they reported fourth quarter results, earnings coming in around 14 cents a share, while we saw sales of around 332 million. Both of those figures were able to exceed a forecast as far as Street was concerned. But I think the bigger headline story is the fact they will be now acquiring Alani Nu. You mentioned this at the top of the show, but for a 2.8 times revenue multiple for the basically energy drink brand that's really supposed to specialize also in like wellness. I think that they target the exact same demographic. So to me, this seems like a genius decision, but this will be a $1.65 billion deal based on Alani Nu's sales of around $595 million in 2024. Celsius has reacted pretty strongly, of course, to this acquisition news, surging as much as 35% this morning. But the stock has seen about a 53% contraction since the beginning of really 2024, underperforming the S&P 500. We've also seen a loss this year as far as its market share in the energy drink space. For so long, this name was a growth behemoth, but that has not really been the same tone, as we've seen a lot of these staples and a lot of these fairly discretionary type purchases just become more strapped. So I think encouraging that we did see some strong fourth quarter results. However, their fourth quarter revenue was down about 4.4% from a year-over-year basis, primarily due to an expanded distributor incentives as well as some domestic allowances. While North American revenue specifically did drop around 6%, we saw international sales, which rose a whopping 39% to help offset some of the losses here in their biggest market. So the company's sales were lower. They did see their gross margin expand by 240 basis points to 50% in fourth quarter. Adjusted EBITDA margin was also up in a modest 10 basis points to 18.9%. But I do think that consolidation in the energy drink space is wise and also a trend we could see persist, because right now what all these companies are mentioning is not only being hit by perhaps some of the costs of tariffs and the cost of inflation, but now the cost of just competing with one another, because there's so many names competing for that energy drink market share. So this is a deal made in heaven to me, and I think based on the performance today, it's being received as such by the street, Diane.
Yeah, it's clearly being received as such, and you're right, for a while these were, kind of the flavor of the month, especially when you think about their share price performance, but we've certainly seen some pullback, and this move today will certainly be meaningful for Celsius. I got a question though for you. Have you actually ever tried, because I know younger people, which you're younger than me, are big into these energy drinks. I'm a coffee drinker myself. Have you tried Celsius or Alani Nu?
I have tried them both, and I do not, so I'm a Monster girl. I'm like a Celsius drinker of like the early 2000s, but I have tried. Alani Nu is to me the exact same thing. It's like they target influencers. Influencers are the ones that got me to try them both. I mean, they're fine. I like more of that like chemical taste of Monster, honestly.
Not the chemical taste. Oh, that's hilarious. All right. I appreciate the perspective. Wedbush saying, quote, strategically, this deal makes good sense as Alani, one of the fastest growing brands in energy with meaningful distribution white space. So I think that proves your point out, Jenny, about the consolidation that may be needed here, especially when you think about the impact of tariffs and how they'll hit, the metals and, given the bottles that these come in, certainly something to watch, more consolidation in the space. Thanks a ton, Jenny, for the deep dive into earnings from Celsius and the acquisition. Shares of Celsius rallying more than 32%.